Welcome back, puppies. Right now, we're going to do something different. Now that we have completed the Gears of War, the first game, we're going to talk a little bit about it and give you our review. So, I'm Cage, and JMills is joining me for this. So, let's get started.
By the way, that's my way of saying hello. A quick flick of the tongue. the
So,
the boys find it awkward. The ladies find it rather appealing.
unless they're gay boys, and then they may find it appealing as well.
No wonder you love it.
So, we'll start with if you guys have not played any of these games and you're looking into it and don't want to watch the gameplay, this is going to be a summary that has no spoilers right now, and then we'll get into the spoiler section in a little while.
Snape
So
kills Dumbledore.
you just spoiled it, man.
Oh wait, we're not reviewing Harry Potter yet. We're reviewing
No,
you. Okay,
no.
sorry.
So
I'm all over the place.
So the summary of the story is when we started the game, it was where events had already taken place, and it was a cinematic of on this planet called Sarah, and the story of the war was that humans were fighting a humanoid species known as the Locust, and then E-Day or Emergence Day happened, which was the beginning of really the conflict that started this story off. And so the locusts were successful in battling the humans and were gaining control. So, as a last effort, the COGS, or the Coalition of Ordered Governments, decide to do a final mission, and Dom goes in, who was best friends with Marcus, and so he goes in and rescues Marcus Phoenix from the Jericho prison, and it was so Marcus. The reason he was in prison was he was demoted and labeled a traitor, and they didn't explain that so far in the game, but it was to rescue his father, and he did a unsuccessful mission, and so he got demoted and labeled a traitor. But so Dom was his best friend, and he goes in and recruits Marcus back into the COG army. Um, so when Marcus and Dom head off, they are joined up with Anthony Carmine and Lieutenant Ming Young Kim. And their first mission of the actual story was to go in and rescue the Alpha Squad. They were labeled Delta Squad, and so they were going through trying to rescue Alpha, and it was during this time that they found two survivors of Alpha Squad, who was Damon Baird, who was a mechanical genius, and Augustus Cole, or Coltrane, who was a former famous thrashball player. So from this point, we go into where Marcus, Dom, Baird, and Cole become the actual Delta Squad that's doing the missions. And the task they are given from command is to take a sonic resonator to the underground world of the Locust, where they plan to map out the Locust world and carry out an attack. And that's sort of what the whole game was based on. So, talking about that point, let's get to the actual review point before we go into the spoilery stuff. So, things that we want to talk about is the replayability, the graphics of the game, the the gameplay of it and the story elements. So, first off, replayability is always a key for any game. And, it's been a while, and I have enjoyed replaying it. So, it does have somewhat some replayability value to it. What
I
did
would
you
say
think
that it
about it?
has. Yeah, I agree. I would say that it has a very high replayability because you and I, we played it probably well, when it first came out. We definitely went through. You and I, we just played it in your room. I think that was 2006.
Yeah.
And of course, Gears of War 2, 3, 4, 5, those are all coming out. But it seems we've always come back to Gears of War 1 and would play through that story. So just the cinematics, the the player action, the storyline itself, the graphics, and we'll get all into that in a bit more depth in a bit, I assume. But yeah, we always came back to the story. I mean, I think it was a masterclass in implementing a new property. So this is Gears of War was the forget the company that manufactured that produced the game, but it's their first go at it, and I think they did an exceptional job. And case in point, you and I, we came back to playing that particular this particular game several times because of its replayability value.
Yeah, I think too. One of the elements that went with it was the multiplayer. When you could do multiplayer online matches, and I know a lot of times we actually got together and played Horde and played the night away just playing Horde, um, which
Yeah, but
was
that
a
was in Gears of War 2.
oh
They
yeah
didn't implement Horde until Gears 2. But yeah, the multiplayer, and I've never been a huge fan of those multiplayer games online like Halo. I never played those a whole ton. But one really cool thing about Gears of War 1 is also you can play it online, from a distance. You can play through the campaign at least,
yeah.
um, online. So we just did that with the remastered version of Gears of War 1. I'm here in North Carolina, you're over there in Alabama, and we're still returning to game one, replaying it all over again, and
Oh yeah.
thoroughly enjoying it.
And I think the reason it is so good, besides just everything, is the story behind it. The people wrote a very good story. It could have survived on its own, and they decided to take it further with all the extras they made, the sequels. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed the story behind it and enjoyed that concept that they had. Um, but yeah, graphic wise, this one had. I was surprised when we first opened it up, and all of a sudden there's Marcus, and it's almost like looking at a real person. It was an amazing upgrade on people. I mean, back then it had great graphics before, but they really stepped up their game on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that. I mean, when you look at games that are just 5 years old, 2015, 2014, 2016, even the new Doom versus the original, well, I guess the 2016 remake of Doom, there are definitely improvements you've seen just in that small period of time. But this game back in 2005, 2006, when it was first released, I think it still holds up. I can go and play the original Xbox 360 version and be thoroughly satisfied with the graphics and cinematics in that game. Again, I
Oh, yeah.
think the and forgive me, I can't remember the actual name of the company that produced it, but
Wasn't it
they
Unreal and Naughty Dog
well,
together?
no, not Naughty Dog. Unreal was the engine, so I think it was what was it? Unreal. I'll have to look it up while you're talking, but they the first game itself, the Xbox 360, that those graphics are great. I mean, if you remember, even that was the reason why I bought a 360. When you saw the original trailer for it or the teaser with Mad World by Gary Jules playing, that got me hooked. And then actually playing the game itself, it was just as good.
Oh yeah, it was super catchy. And it went pretty big as far as everyone's concerned. Is it became a huge phenomenon that no one really predicted. So
Yeah, it was Epic Games, by the way. That
Epic.
is the
Yep,
company
that's
that
it.
developed it. Cliff
Okay.
Bleszinski was the creator, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I think so. Um,
Wikipedia. It's where it's at.
that is where it's at. But yeah. So as far as graphics and story, we know those are good. Gameplay, that's been very good because it keeps bringing us back to playing our old old titles that we liked because of the story and the gameplay. Um,
Yeah, and it's really visceral too. I mean, the graphics are intense, and then the fact that you can, I mean, who'd have thought that connecting a chainsaw to a machine gun would be so epic?
oh
They
yeah,
this game they start you off with like the best gun in the game, which is a chainsaw gun where the melee combat is just you chainsawing someone in half. I mean, how awesome is that?
yeah, that's amazing. And so with that, I think I would give this title the I think on gameplay out of 5, I would give it about 4.5 because it's a great game. Everything is exactly as the original. The nice thing about this one is they actually bring in um, more more content. Um, but it's pretty interesting with the extra content added into it. Also, visuals, I would give it a 5 because visuals were amazing. The story is about 4.7 because it's a good story. And then I think what was it left? The multiplayer. With this one, we really didn't do too much multiplayer. We did that one match. That was a 1v1 at the beginning of the series. And I would have loved to have seen more people on that, but I'm pretty sure it still has good multiplayer. So I would say that's probably 4.5 as well.
I would say
Um,
shooting your head off was a lot of fun for me. So
so it was a
the
5 for
1v1
you.
multiplayer, I my rating system's a little different than yours. I mean, when you take out, a banana from a store and you eat the banana right away. If it's ripe, it's delicious. If you let it sit on the counter for a bit too long, it browns, it goes bad. Well, this game was a ripe banana, and it stayed a ripe banana for the past 15 years. So I throated that delicious banana for the
Okay.
past 15 years and enjoyed every inch of that banana. So I'd give this a 5 bananas out of 5.
Okay, good, good. 5 bananas out of 5. So with our two scores added together, you're looking at about 4.75 ripe bananas.
That's right. This was a
So
ripe banana.
So now we're going to start the spoiler section where we actually talk about some key points in the actual game that either surprised us, wowed us, or just frustrated the tar out of us. So if you're here now and you don't want to hear anything spoilery, it's time to go. If you want to stay and listen because you've played it or you're interested and not gonna play it, you can stick around. All
Also, the
right.
game is over 15 years old, so if you aren't already spoiled, then where the heck have you been living under a rock the past decade?
Hey, I don't know that much about 3, so I have been living under a rock. So thanks. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you're a spoiled banana.
Spoiled.
You are a one banana out of 100, Andrew.
So, back to the actual story. So, when we get past the first mission where Anthony Carmine actually gets shot, the thing that like really boggled my mind is they're sitting around talking and he's sitting there saying, "Oh no, my gun's jammed," right? Well, all of a sudden he gets shot from a sniper and the camera pans and the sniper's like maybe 10 feet away. How did no one notice that sniper there? Like, really?
He hadn't fully rendered yet, so they didn't see him.
The graphics were still loading. He appeared right as he pulled the trigger.
Exactly.
Like playing Halo with rockets. You just, you get the game to glitch and no one knows you're there and the rocket just flies.
Boom. Boom.
And then another one was when we saw the actual, when Kim gets killed. Of course, they had to kill 2 people quick so that you had room for Baird and Cole to join. They just couldn't put them on a different mission. But we saw him get separated, and that was our first look at General Ram. I think he looked pretty intimidating. And the way they did the graphic rendering on him actually looked really good.
Yeah, I think General Ram is probably. We can't really dive into all the other games, and I've played every single one except for Gears 5, but I will say that they definitely hit a home run with General Ram as the main baddie in the game, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself. The final battle with him was, if you're not playing it on very hard or
insane.
What is it? Or insane, yeah. He is fairly easy to kill, especially with 2 people shooting at him, and there's a technique to do it that basically makes it.
Oh, he was super easy with you and me playing with the torque bow, going in and shooting him. It literally took us. I think when I started recording, because we had paused and recorded a different day, because it was just we were tired. So we went in and like 2 minutes after we started, the game was over. It was literally that simple. We walked in, we watched the cinematic, and then that was most of that 2 minutes was the cinematic of him walking up. And then I think we killed him in like 1 minute and 45 seconds. And it was, if you are good at first-person shooters, I would say try for very hard or insane, because that's going to be your best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
This is a third person. This is third person, by the way.
Oh yeah. And
over the shoulder. Let's not confuse people here.
Yeah, true. Third person. If you're good with shooters, okay, there we go.
Yeah, the game itself can be pretty difficult in certain areas, but if you're looking at a tough final boss, then playing on hardcore or insane would probably be the way to go. Because honestly, if you're playing it just the one player, because if you play through the campaign by yourself and you have AI as your assistant, then it is significantly more difficult because AI doesn't do jack.
Oh yeah, AI
they're not
is
as
horrible.
helpful as they are in the follow-up games, but yeah, 2-player, if you guys are both going at it and you both have the right weapons equipped, like you said, if you have the torque bow, you can make an easy work of General Ram. But again, that being said, he is a pretty cool boss, and the first few scenes with him sticking a knife in the chest of Kim was pretty wicked.
Oh yeah. That was like one of those oh crap moments where it's just like, oh man, he means business.
Well, for me personally, growing up and playing games like Metal Gear Solid, really highly cinematic and awesome games like that, there was a gap for me between some of those earlier games, Final Fantasy VII and things like that, to this, where I was like, I'm looking for another game with a good story. I've always been a sucker for, a good campaign, and even though this is really, when you break it down to its foundation, its bare bones, this is really just a shoot 'em up, brainless, shooter game. But it's got a really cool story and it's fairly cinematic, and they make really good use of the processing power of the Xbox 360, which everybody knows by now. The processing power can't hold a candle to the processing power of current gen and next gen systems, but they did a really good job with it, and it holds up.
Yeah, and like one of the things that frustrated me most about this game was that one part where we played with the Brumac, which was a brand new added uh, part in the gameplay. But it seemed like that was intensified extremely high from what our previous level was. And then we go to General Ramen. I'm sitting there going, okay, they've probably upped his ante since this one was so hard. And that's why I was like, okay, we'll call it now and then face him tomorrow night because it may take a while, you
Right.
know. And then we get to it, we beat the Brumac finally, and we go in, and then for it to just be like, I think I shot him 4 or 5 times, and I think you did the same, so about 10 shots with the torque, and he was down and over with. That was sort of, anticlimactic.
Yeah, there were no retries, no respawns, nothing like that. And I actually really liked the battle with the Brumac. It was, I mean, I like parts that are frustratingly difficult, especially, since we played it through normal, because it's been a while since we've actually returned, a few years now since I've played Gears of War, the first one. I mean, like I said earlier, we had both played through it several times. You and me, we played it together a couple times,
Oh, yeah.
and I played it by myself a couple times. When I first got the Xbox One with the Ultimate Edition Gears of War, I went ahead and played through it myself, just to get a feel for the game again. And then, like you and I just recently did, we played through the regular campaign. But the Brumac was an addition to the Ultimate Edition Gears of War 1 when they remastered it for the Xbox One. And that was a pretty epic boss battle. It was extremely difficult for a game on normal. I can't imagine what it would be like on hardcore, let alone insane. But, once you get your tactics down and you figure out the Brumac's routine, it can be, you can strategize to a way that'll help you actually defeat it. But, finding that strategy was extremely difficult. And as you'll see, in the previous episode, we died multiple times. I mean, there's no getting around it.
We went in
We
and I
each
think
died
we
a bunch.
died like maybe, I don't know if it's as high as this, but about 10 times,
I
I
mean, let's be
think,
honest. It
each.
was mostly you. I carried the team. You just
Yeah.
you just for some reason loved just bending over and letting them give it to you.
Yep. That's it. But my whole thing was with that, the strategy was fairly simple when you've got two players. I don't know how it would have been with the actual AI
Oh
because
Lord.
I'm sure he would stick with you, so you couldn't quite get stuff. Like the easiest part of it was separating that final time that we did when we finally figured it out and getting him to focus on one of us. Um, that's how we finally got him down, was at that point, because we were on either side of him and he had to focus on one or the other. The only challenging part was when one of us would get down and he could
Right.
focus solely on us. Um, I think we did fairly well with, because I had never played with the Brumac. So the Brumac was a new challenge for me. And like I said, the ante upped up pretty high when he came in. Um, but yeah, that was basically that. And I would definitely, as a recommendation, um, I would recommend playing it if you've never played it because it does have good replay value. It's got great graphics. Um, if you have a friend, it's a lot better with a friend because you guys can cut up like we did, make fun of each other and make up random stuff and
Or you can
all
use
in.
someone like me that carries the team and you die a lot.
True, true. But I think that I try to speak for us both, but I think we both really enjoyed the gameplay. Um, and we hope you guys enjoyed watching us play. This is some stuff we're looking at still doing in the future. So eventually we'll have some other gameplays with us in it. And we'd love you guys to join us again. So, and we're going to try, I'm at least going to try and do more content like this of a review of things that I've played and give it sort of a rating from what I like about the game. So, like with The Legends of Zelda Link's Awakening, I'll eventually, when I finish that, I'll go ahead and do a review like this as well. But thank you guys for joining us and giving us your time, and we hope you have a great day or whatever time of day it is for you. So, this has been Cage and JMills reviewing Gears of War.
It was fun. Definitely play it.
Yeah. Cage and JMills signing it off.
Later.